What's up everyone? Today we're gonna talk about free weights versus machines and which exercise is better. My name's Anthony and I own the gym called LamLab in Oakville, and I'm a personal trainer for the last 11 years and I help all kinds of clients reach their fitness goals. Today we're kind of diving into this debate of when should I use free weights and when should I use machines. It's always heavily debated, but once you learn what I'm about to show you, you'll get which one you should prioritize your time with and how it relates to your fitness goal. So let's get straight into it. Should you use free weights or machines? This is the age-old question of which one is better. Free weights being like using dumbbells, barbells, or cables. Machines being obviously something like restricted to one type of movement where you're holding onto the handles. Which exercise should you prioritize over the other? And like all things in fitness, if you ask a real professional, it's always depends on your goal. You're gonna hear that a lot. So the reason why I've drawn it out like a spectrum like this is because some things are in the middle, right? Like cables are kind of like a machine, but kind of like a free weight because they're so free. So cables would be one side of the spectrum. Free weights would probably be like your dumbbell movements, right? And then machines could be like an extreme, like a chest press, right? Chest press, where you're seated and pushing. So where these two differ is free weights is like being a dancer, okay? Dancer, and machines is kind of like being like a power lifter. So a dancer is really like free in their movement. Like when you see them, they're very graceful. They can bounce, there's a lot of rotation, a lot of movements are combined with each other versus like a power lifter doing like a squat or a bench press, a deadlift. It's a very straightforward movement where their bodies are really tight, they're picking up a heavy object and they're stiff, unlike the dancer. So that's kind of like the difference, right? So when you do a free weight exercise like a dancer, that's kind of like having a lot of degrees of freedom. So exercises like this typically will help you move better and more gracefully. It also means you have greater stabilizer output. What stabilizers are there smaller muscles close to your bigger muscles that help you prevent those shakes that you would normally get or help keep your bones sitting in the correct sockets. So sometimes when you do an explosive movement, those joints can shake, and that's sometimes when you feel pain. But when you use free weights, it teaches those joints and teaches those small muscles to keep everything in the right spot. This will reduce injury, which is awesome when it comes to sports. And the last thing is, because there's greater stabilizer output and because there's greater degrees of freedom, oftentimes those bigger muscles, we call them prime movers, they don't work as hard because they don't need as much force because this task is limited by how much balance you have. For example, if I'm doing a single leg deadlift, right? I'm on one foot, I'm not balanced, I have to pick up an object and pick it up off the ground. Obviously, because I'm only on one foot and I have balance, I can maybe only do like 50 pounds. But if I'm doing the exact same movement, a deadlift with two of my feet, my hand on the wall, and I'm picking up an object, well then I can use a lot more of my leg muscles and I can probably pick up like a couple 100 pounds versus the 50 pounds because I've moved over to this side of the spectrum, which is the powerlifter side. So here, there's less degrees of freedom because I'm holding onto the wall, I can't twist my body, and I have less stabilizer work because I'm using the wall, I have 2 feet on the ground, I'm very balanced, but I get a lot more prime mover output. This is great when it comes to like building strength, building muscle, exercises where I really want my big muscles to be so tired and taxed. So if I want to build strength or muscle, I'm gonna do machines more likely. And then if I really want to be more fluid in my movements, more like a dancer, then I want to be doing free weights. And then anywhere in between, having some variability could be good. So let's say if I'm doing like a free weight movement that has some balance, that could be like a B stance deadlift, right? So if we're talking deadlift, my most free movement is a single leg deadlift. A little bit more balance is the B stance deadlift. A little bit in the middle could be like holding onto a wall, doing a deadlift. And then as I get closer to here, that could be doing like a barbell deadlift where I got 2 feet on the ground and 2 holds. And then for the machine, that could be like literally the deadlift machine where everything is like supported by big handles and on a firm base. And that would be the most stability. So just to summarize, It depends on which one you picked. They all have good benefits. If you want to build more muscle and strength, stick closer to this side of the spectrum. If you want to build more fluid, agile movement, sports performance, you kind of want to stay on this side of the movement. But we're all friends and we all work together and help. So that's typically how you would make a program and where you should prioritize your time. Hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, leave in the comments below. And I got free content coming out on my YouTube page all the time, every single Tuesday. And you can even join my free newsletter if you want updates. All you gotta do, subscribe, hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next video.